Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of my mapping tutorial. For today's tutorial, we're going to go over texturing and everything that entails for your map. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab your textures. They can be in any size. As you can see, there's a little bit of variety here, with one of these being a different size than the others. And this one is a stock texture, but it's been altered slightly, so it doesn't have to be necessarily the exact same as a stock texture. It's very important that your textures are in BMP format. That's a bitmap. So get them into bitmap format. PaintNet can convert those, and lots of programs can, actually. Once it's in a bitmap format, you're going to want to go over to your tools and open up a TEXCONV texture converter. And you can change your folder properties here if you want to designate a proper working path. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be converting these BMPs into RIM, and this is the program you need to do that. We're going to do a group of these, and I'm going to stop right here for a particular reason. So we're going to just do this, select OK. After every time it's going to ask you to save, you can just say no. Okay, this is the important one. Chain is a different kind of texture. I'm going to use this specifically to demonstrate one kind of thing that AvP can do. As you can see over here, there is a gray background. Now, in the game, we're going to want to only see the chain visible, not the background. So here's what we're going to do. This has a solid color as a background. We're going to open it. And if you know the RGB value for what you want to be invisible, only one color can be invisible in the texture. You can't have multiple. Then you type in the RGB value here. If not, then you can just designate a particular pixel. Now, as you can see, the top right and bottom right also are the color of the background. So we're going to select that and then hit OK. Then for the rest of these, we're going to just add them. OK. That's still not all of them. Let's see, here we are. Okay, and that should be all of them. These are the textures I want to use for this map. We might not use all of them, but I want to have some adequate variety. So once you have these all checked in, then you find whatever folder you saved them to. In my instance, I put them all here. And we're going to want to move these into a folder that is in, it's going to be our folder that we're going to have everyone use. So we go to graphics and then envrnmts, which is environments, and then we're going to type in the name of our new folder, which in our case is going to be example. This is going to be where we're going to house the RIM files. The RIM files are these over here, and you can actually open these. And if you have it set for the right program, if viewer is going to open these so you can see the. Even if it's open over here, you're still going to see the background, but in the game, that should be invisible. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can close out of this, and we don't need to save. Now, what we're going to do is we need to open, we need to go to Tools, go to CCA Main. Now, CCA Main, there's a lot that this is in charge of. For right now, what we're going to do is we need to designate that folder as being the graphics folder that our example riff, or the riff that you're going to be using for your map, is going to draw from. And this can be multiple maps, but for this right now, it's just easiest to organize it with one map. So once you've loaded it, you selected the map file, go over here to bitmaps, and we're going to go to add. Then we find that folder here, and this needs to be in this particular directory over here. So in program files, and then Fox, and then Aliens vs. the Predator, and then graphics, and then environments, and then we're going to navigate to our folder that we just created. And I think you can just select all of these and then click enter. Okay, so now that we have, now that we selected all of these, you can see them all over in here. And these are all 128 by 128, except for this one over here. So it's going to show you the different dimensions of these. Later on, you can, if you need to replace it, you can either remove or you can update it. with a different named rim file. So we're going to save this, close out of it. Okay, so now for the fun stuff. We're going to open up our riff file, and this is the original one that we're going to be working from, and this is the split one already that I started with. Before I forget, if you remember from last time, there was a bit of a mistake that I mentioned, which was that this far one over here was not linked. Since I didn't forget that, I'm going to just link it right now. Okay, so now going to the texture mode. So from your regular mode, you go here to the top, click mode, go to texture, and now we see the textures. Clearly there's nothing textured here, so that's what we're going to get started with doing. I'm going to walk through the process here. Right click, click select texture, and then you can see all of the textures displayed over here. Now, if there's a texture that's irregularly shaped, it's going to be fit to a square. So this one over here is not actually, obviously, a square, but it's that's just the way that this level editor renders things. Okay, so now we can get started. So let's do just the very basics here, right? So this is not going to be anything super fancy and complex, but it's going to hopefully look a little interesting. Okay, I'm looking for the one that I wanted to use. Here it is. So here's what I did. You click a polygon, you right-click, select texture, click the texture you want to use, press T. Oh, sorry. Both of those were selected. So click it, press T, and then go like that. If you want to rotate it, you press E, which will rotate the nodes. Okay. I think we're going to rotate it so it looks like that. Here we go. If you want to texture across a selection, then it will fit it like that. Now, if you want to make it so that you have a various number of repeats, you do Shift N, and then you select the number of repeats. And then it doesn't work. Shift N, number of repeats. Oh, then like this. I'm rotating it. But that's not how this is gonna go. We're gonna actually give it some variety. Here, here, clicking T, and over here we will choose this guy. So now we have a wall built over here, and we're gonna use the numpad keys to move things around. If you use the numpad keys like I do, make sure that numlock is on. Okay, now here is, I'm going to show you some shortcuts to doing this. So let's say we want this wall to look exactly like this, right? So this one, instead of having to select the exact texture, press U. It's going to ask you which polygon to select from. That means just copy the UV coordinates and then go like that. And then this one is like that. All right. Here, and why not just do that? All right, then this will just be the same. Save this one for a little bit later. I'm going to go look at the floor. Okay, as you can see, some of the floors are triangles, some of them are squares. Let's do the square one first. Okay, first let's do this for this part. Okay, just gonna press T, click it, press T. Now I'm gonna rotate this. And then if you want to flip the coordinates, you can press X. You can also press Y. Y changes that a different way. All these shortcuts are listed in Inteng, so you just go through the help and you just kind of figure out the shortcuts as you go along. Pressing T. Now what I'm doing very quickly, once you have this set up like that, I'm doing, to get rid of this, I'm going right click, clear selection. Right. Now this should give a distorted one. So these are triangles that are in a weird pattern. you're going to run into this problem most likely. So what you want to do in a case like this is select something that is kind of standard as part of this group. So I selected these as well as this, and then using this as a base. Hang on, I'm going to select these triangles. And if you're not sure, I mean, you can see the red, but if you're not sure what you've selected, you press W to turn it into wireframe mode, and that's only going to select the ones that you've selected, and then hit T, and then choose polygon for plane, the middle one here. Okay, now we are going to change this, so this is not going to be the same one, so you can always undo. So this one here, I wanted to make it look like that. All right, since I'm looking at this right now, let's go give this a chevron. Okay, so you can see it's messed up, so you just press E, and then it's fine. Now it's periodically, I think it's at every 5-minute interval, it's going to ask you to auto-save. So you can either say yes or no, depending. All right. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to make use of that chain texture. So this is the bottom of a lift. I'm going to select that. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to texture it. Now this is going to look very bizarre, right? Looks very weird. Even rotating it doesn't make it look all that much better. So since this is so long, we're going to need to press Shift N and maybe give this something like 5 repeats, maybe even more than that. Now here, you can press T, it doesn't really do anything. Press Tab. Okay, so Tab is going to show us a much more robust, a much clearer way of texturing things, as you can see on the right-hand side here. Now, because I'm running this in windowed mode, the taskbar is going to cover up some of this thing, some of the texture part for me, but that's okay. I can make do with this. Okay, we're going to see it like this. All right, so here's that chain. So you just draw the nodes to create a box around this. It looks pretty good to me. We don't have to do this every single time. Again, you can go select this, press U to copy the UV coordinates, and then it should be like that. Copy the UV coordinates here. This doesn't look super fantastic, but it is what it is. Alright, now what I'm going to do over here is, as you can see, now in real life, obviously a chain would be, well, it would just be one thing. Let's just say we're going to make a box out of a chain, right? You'd be able to see the other parts of the chain. So there are various flags you can use for the textures. So you right-click, go down to flags. Flags AvP are something different. So just do the first one, and then add no BFC. That means no backface cull. That means you can see the back of the texture over the polygon too. So you can see it looks a little bit different here. Because these are transparent, you can see through, and you can see the behind of the other boxes. Okay, now this is kind of the recessed pit, I guess, that the chain thing is going to come up from. So we'll choose a, I don't know, let's choose some piping. Just saying, this happens when you have more than, when you're from you're using a texture that's more than one repeat. Oh, it's kind of selected things nicely for this one. Let's go. Okay, so take a look at this. You can see that things are a little bit small. So I'm going to press 9 to expand that. You can press 9 again. It looks nice and clear. Sure, this looks pretty good. And press Tab again to get out of that. Select this. Press U on all of these just to make this all the same. It's not going to be a great looking map, but it'll just be what it is, and then you can just use a little bit of a metal grate texture here at the bottom. Sure, that looks fine. Okay, the underside of this, let's see. Okay, so it would be great if we could have a kind of square texture. Okay, perfect. So it's a square polygon. Set that there. Press E. Sure, that's... What does it look like? Okay, if you press Shift T, then it tiles the texture. And that can be a good way to get things to kind of reset. So now I tiled it for just a second, and then I clicked regular T on this. And for here, this is just a regular, normal square. It'll look like that. Actually, you know what? That looks a little weird. I'm gonna undo. Now the comma and period can undo and redo, right? So comma, undo. Period, redo, comma, undo. I'm going to undo what I just did, and I'm going to do that. Because I prefer how it looked before. I'm too lazy to figure out the coordinates again. So, okay, so here we are. We've got a nice little room here. We don't have a ceiling texture yet, so let's pick a nice texture for the ceiling. Let's go with this one. I was asking us to autosave, so I click that. Okay. Okay, different direction. So just to make them all look the same, you rotate it. Let's say you are forgetting how to rotate the nodes. Press Tab. That makes it a little bit more specific here. And if the size is too big, you press or too small, you press 9. If it's too big, you press 8. Say you want to do the rotation of the nodes a little bit differently. The top one is the most useful one, in my opinion. You can rotate the nodes if they're smaller than maximum, but in this case they're at max. Oh, it already was rotated that way. Okay, here we go. And press Tab again to get out of that. And then you just keep doing this. Okay, so once again it was like that, so I'm just going to press E as a shortcut, or you can just press U, get the texturing from another polygon this way. Oops. Okay, a good way to reset is to press the asterisk button above numpad 9. Okay, we're over here now. I'm just gonna finish this room. Just making it look the same, and here we go. Okay. Now we get this weird part over here. Sometimes the geometry is not going to be a perfect square. Now what you can see over here is this one in the back is a rectangle, and so we're going to texture things based on this. Press E on that. If I hadn't done that, the texture would have been totally distorted. All right, and then the back here. Gonna select something maybe a little different. Let's do the blue in the background here. So you can see it's not going to matter one way or the other if I stretch it out like this or like that for the background here. Again, this is just super simple. This is for a switch, of course. We're going to be giving some motion a little bit later. Okay, that looks good. All right, now let me show you another thing that's kind of interesting. We talked about no backface call or no BFC. Let's give this switch a little bit of light. So I'm going to go to Tab. I'm going to go to right-click, Nodes to Corner. This is fine. So now I can see what happens if it's set at this corner. So I know we need to set it to this corner. Okay, let's make it let's give it this yellowish orangish light. Here we go. Looks kind of good. Now let's say that this is affected by light in the map, right? And you wanted it to be kind of not necessarily glowing, but you wanted it to stick out so the player would see it in the darkness, right? You go here, right-click, Flags, Add, No Light. That means that regardless of whatever light's hitting it, if any, it's going to be full bright. Don't want to select that. Okay, over here, that looks a little weird, so we're going to change this to, I don't know. It's not really meant to look like this, but you know, I'm just going to choose a different texture. That looks pretty cool, but I'll choose a different texture anyway. Let's go over here. Okay, now you can rotate nodes so it looks like that. As you can see, it didn't rotate to exactly fit the corner. Let's see. Setting it so it looks like. Oh, you know what? Let's go over here. This can look like a real handle, maybe. If we drag this across and this down. And then start to do this. Now, what you can do, okay, so I'm seeing that I'm not really liking the way this looks, so I want to bring this back in. What you can do is, in the top corner here, you can see that these are the these are the pixels that we're at, right? So this is where the node is, or this is where this node is, and so it selects this one. So you press 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, the arrows going to different ones, and then you can kind of stretch it or shrink it with the arrow keys. I like to do that sometimes. So as you can see, I can be a little bit more precise here. So I just want it to look a little bit like that. So instead of just dragging it and maybe missing and overshooting it and getting it a little bit distorted, I'm going to just do that. So this looks pretty good. Okay. Alright, now that we've got our switch, let's move on to the next part of the map, which is going to be this hallway. I'm going to start to use different textures so it looks like a different room, different hallway. Alright, now we've reached the stairs. I'm going to give this part of the step a different texture than we are going to give the actual step. So here's what we're going to do. Rotate this. And this one's going to be looking like this. And now for the top of the step, we're going to use this metal. Great. Okay, so you can set it so that it's just, let's say that you want to set it so that it's just this one. Well, it's going to look weird because the size of this itself is not a square. So what you can do is press Shift T and then click it. Now that tiles it. It's not always going to look great tiled, but in this case it looks perfectly fine. You can imagine like this is like one square and this is another. It just does it so it looks like it kind of evenly fits the rectangle. All right. Now this was just a demonstration. This metal texture doesn't look great. So you know what we're going to do? We're actually going to change it now. Let's do this. Let's change it so it looks a little bit different. All right. So here's what we're going to do. You go over here. So I didn't like the way that looked. That happens sometimes. It's fine. Here we go. Make use of this texture. Probably hasn't been used this way much. So yeah, let's give this a try. That looks pretty good. That's more realistic, right? I think that's better. All right. That matches the aesthetic a little bit better. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. This part over here, I know needs to be an alien hive. So we're going to start to texture this with the alien hive textures. So we're going to go over here. This can be right here. Oops. Okay, so Shift T. That looks perfectly fine. What does just regular T look like? And Shift T looks better, maybe. Can change it again if I prefer something else. So I'm going to change these two to look like, well, I guess to look like this. These two, so that the deeper part of the hive section looks bluer, and then the other section is going to look a little bit more purple. So it has some variety. Now, of course, let's say you were like, well, this just looks like the texture are just squished onto a rectangle. How can I get only part of the texture? Well, you just go over here and make it look like that. You want it to look all stretched out, you can do that. Just half of the texture. Then again, let's say you want to know exactly what the halfway point is. You look over at the top right corner. 0 is the very first segment. Since this is 128, 63 is what we want, not 64. 63 is exactly 64 pixels. So how about looking like that? That looks pretty good. It's a little bit better than before. Again, if you want to compare, you can just click it again and then press a comma to see what it previously looked like. Let's undo and then redo. Right? Okay. Autosave. Yes. Now, if you recall, there are some textures over here that have some hive elements on them. So we're going to make use of those. So let's do that right now. So you can see the hive portion is on the bottom here. Shift T, regular T. Okay, flip that. So it looks like that. Here, maybe this can just be itself the hive texture, I guess. You can get a different perspective by using the numpad keys. Okay, that rotates it so it looks like that. And then this, you can change the texture. So this one's clean. This one, wait a second. This one, I'm going to select the texture that has the burn mark on it. Okay. All right, great. So we've got the main section all fleshed out here with textures. All right, so now I've textured this part of the wall, but I did not texture these door frames. You know what could work? Well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go here. Okay. Gonna do Shift N to texture across. Okay, here we go. Sometimes it doesn't work the first time, so gotta just try multiple times. All right, now for the door frame here, I know exactly what I want to do here. Gonna do no. Okay, and just like that. Okay. And since that coordinate is set up, you can just hopefully go through that, select the other polygons, press T in the middle, and there you go. Okay. If that doesn't work, then you go press this, and then E, and then I'm not sure where this is. Oh, it's looking like that. No, let's just do this. Let's be faster this way. Oops. Other way. Right here. Okay. Like that. Now the door itself is right here. This gets our door. You know what? Select both of these at the same time. Okay. Let's see. This looks like it's upside down. Let's see. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay. All right, here we are. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. This And then, nope. Okay, so I think there's a problem here. It's assuming that all this blank space in between is also textured, which it's not. So, okay. So, no, it's my mistake. Okay, so I'm going to click this, do this, and just set it to what it says in the corner, 63, 63. This is going to be this part of that. And this right here. Okay, that was a mistake. Okay, let's just rotate, and I think it's in the right place already. Oh, it's not. Do 64, and then 63. Okay, let's just double check that the coordinates of this are correct. Let's do tab 63. Nope, no, that's a mistake. Just rotate. And where are we? Here we are. And flip Y. I'm using a lot of shortcuts here. But as you can see, things can kind of get a little bit screwed up. So that's why it's good to memorize those shortcuts. Y flips the Y-axis, obviously. X flips the X-axis. E rotates the nodes. Okay, so this is going to be the same thing. Pressing tab. Go, press Y to go down. Now press X to flip across. And there we have it. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and then this is going to be a similar thing. Rotate the nodes 90 degrees. And that should be it. We do want 64 on this side. Yeah, okay. All right, great. So that takes care of the doors. Texturing the doors, that was a little bit of a pain, but it happened. It worked. All right, now for the ceiling. This room. That's for selecting a color. If you accidentally select that, you don't want to use that. Doesn't work. Now for the end over here. This stuff is going to be another hive. So once again, let's select our texture here. This can be this thing. All right, haven't made too much use of this texture, so we're going to do that now. Again, if it doesn't show the proper direction, you can just rotate it. And the top over here is going to be this. Okay. So it looks like everything's fully textured. There's a way to check if I've missed one. If I missed one, then you go to, if you want to check, you go to miscellaneous, find, and select untextured polygons. And then it says briefly all polygons have been done. Okay, so this is now fully textured. Okay, exit, save, of course. Okay, so that's over here. Now let's say you want to view it in-game. Okay, so currently don't have the graphics folder for this, so all you have to do is go here, navigate to that, go to your folder, copy, place it over here, and now it should display when you run it. So let's go check it out. All right. So everything's been textured as I did it. Got some light areas and some dark areas because of the lighting in particular. But this is as I have just textured it. All right, great. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below in the comments. Hopefully this was helpful and maybe a little interesting to watch. Thanks for watching, and next time we're going to get into sounds. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.